Now let's talk about it right now. AT&T. I'm Courtney with Cowboys Nation.
What is up? Welcome to another edition of Tag Nation. It's we got our work cut out for us today because it's been a slow week. You know, I've always complained about the Cowboys in the news too much. Want they to be quiet. Now that they're quiet, I'm upset. I got nothing to talk about. But no, we'll get started. And before I forget, always, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, like, share. We're on Twitter. We got a Facebook page. You can check us out on there too. It's Tag Nation or Mike Tag. And then obviously Spotify. So if you're in your car, you need some, drive at home music. You need some morning drive music, lunchtime music, whatever it is, sitting in your computer. Be more productive listening to our show than working, right? Wouldn't you say that, Jimmy?
Absolutely. You know what? We're your wake-up call. So you make sure you put us on in the morning. We'll get you going, baby.
That's
better
right.
than that caffeinated coffee.
How was your weekend? I saw on Twitter you had some premier seats looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning. You went to a game up in New York. How was that experience?
Oh, it was fun, man. The seats were great. We had a good time. It's just nice, being up that close, and you can hear the guys cursing at each other, and it was just a good time, man. Good game. Unfortunately, the Islanders, who I can't stand, who I curse every day, they couldn't pull off the win for us because hockey, there's still 5-6 weeks left. But, you still right now you're looking for jockeying for position. I really needed Tampa Bay to lose, and Islanders couldn't get the job done.
That's a good rivalry, at least down here with the Islanders. That's been a good playoff rivalry. So that must have been an intense game to go to for sure.
Oh, it was. It was a few fights, good stuff, man.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to a game. I have plans. We're supposed to be going, I think Winnipeg. We're looking for an easy game to go to where we can get tickets cheap. So we're not going to be as close as Jimmy D, but hopefully there'll be some good seats. But we might touch on that a little bit more later. But just kicking it off in the NFL, it was quiet week. You had a little bit of Cowboy news. Obviously, Trayvon Diggs put out that little tweet with about him and his brother playing together, and that got a lot of attention. Through obviously Cowboys Nation and also on social media. There was a lot of comments. I know Josh Allen responded and said no. Yeah. It would be kind of cool. I've got brothers. It would be kind of cool to play with my brother at that level, or really any level. It'd be a lot of fun. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think Diggs has, I think he might have a year left. So maybe it will. Maybe we get down to Dallas. I don't want to see Trayvon going up north, but at least brought a little bit of attention to the Cowboys. But, do you think up there, do you think that's something that you could see happening, especially with Buffalo, their cap situation? They may be running into some issues down the road with some of the big contracts they got.
No, you know what? I don't see that movement. I tell you, they actually just today, the governor gave Buffalo $850 million toward the new stadium. So my tax dollars have to pay for that stadium, for that dump out in Western New York. And I got news for you. The stupid part is, I'm not going to get into the weeds about this, but instead of they kept it in Orchard Park, which, if you know the area, it's out in the sticks. So basically you don't even pass through downtown Buffalo. You pass to the, around it, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. A lot of people wanted it in downtown Buffalo as like a revitalization project and, support the local economy. I mean, when you're out in Orchard Park, there's nothing. Yeah. There is nothing. And that's why it's a really good tailgate, because people are throwing up all over the place and getting drunk. But, really, if you think about it, if my tax dollars are going to go toward a stadium, I would really rather have it in a position where it's going to help the local economy, no matter where that is.
Yeah, and I don't know that area well, but I mean, you've been to AT&T with me. You know that it's in Arlington. It's not in Dallas. It's it's kind of out there. They've built a lot around it in the years, 10 plus years it's been there. Now they've got Texas Live right there. They got hotels. You can see constant construction. So I think if you get, maybe if they get a stadium, and it sounded like it was like $1.3 billion is what they were gonna have for a 30-year lease with the stadium. They should be able to put something together really nice. So maybe it's something that could, revitalize that area or add something to it, make it a destination stadium. That's the hot topic now with these stadiums, is make it a destination stadium where the other fans want to come in, because that's where they get all their money. And if you go to Dallas, it sucks in a way. We love the stadium, but you don't really have much home field advantage because you get so much of the other team coming in. And I think the Rams, which they have a crappy fan base anyway, but Vegas will probably see a lot of that. Atlanta, even though that's a transient, state, they built that beautiful stadium. A lot of other fans go to Minnesota. So it'll be interesting. I wouldn't go up to Buffalo. Maybe 1 month, they play in September or something, but I'm not going in the winter. That's for sure.
It's fun, though. I tell you one thing, it is a great area to tailgate, and it is fun in the winter. And especially, when you got a few in you and it's a little cold out, it kind of keeps you, paying attention to the game and not falling asleep impromptu, if you will. But, speaking of destination stadiums, WrestleMania is hitting AT&T next weekend.
I know, and it was funny because I have season tickets. I could have bought some. So a few years, remember, I think it was supposed to be there a couple years ago. Then COVID, they postponed it. I was talking about maybe going. My daughter was big into wrestling. At the time, she's kind of, just like my hype videos, she's kind of drifted away from that. She's growing up too fast. She doesn't want to hang out with her dad sometimes. I got to pick my spots when she wants to hang out with me. But we were thinking about getting tickets for that. Then it kind of snuck up, and I didn't even think about it. But I think it'll be exciting. That's going to be packed. I don't know. Will it be as big as the Silverdome? Remember the WrestleMania 2 and then, or WrestleMania 3, whichever one it was, they had over 100,000 fans in there. I would think Dallas obviously they seat more than that. And especially if you had the floor, I wonder if they're going to be that packed.
They can seat it. I don't think they're going to pull off that many. I heard that there was some buy one, get one half off. And we'll get to that later. Yeah. But it's going to be 2 days. It's the 3rd and the 4th. And hey, again, it's not high school or collegiate. We're talking professional. So there'll be a good draw.
As an amateur wrestler, I never reached that professional rank. I was hoping to, but it just didn't happen. So, but no, back to a little bit of the Cowboys. It's funny you talked about Buffalo. I went to a game in Chicago, talking about cold games. It was the coldest game in Soldier Field history. It was a Sunday night game, and we played up there, and we got the crap beat out of us. And then the Bears weren't even that good that year. We should have beat them. But it was so cold. The only saving grace, I said, I'll never go to another game. The beer was frozen when you got to your seat. They were selling hot chocolate for like $10, $12 a clip, and they couldn't keep enough of it. We were getting beat so bad. The only saving grace, it was so cold that everyone was all bundled up. No one was really cheering. No one was giving me a hard time, because you've seen it live. But when it comes to Cowboys, people love to give the Cowboys a hard time. There isn't a day that goes by where I'm not walking to a store, I don't walk somewhere, and some guy will make some wise-ass comment about the Cowboys and about this and about that. So that was the saving grace of a cold game. But I vowed that I would never, ever spend my money to go to a game outdoors when it's that cold, because it was like -7. It just wasn't even enjoyable. Yeah. It sucked.
See, and I love the winter. I enjoy my winter. I'm ready for the pool to be open now. But that's the thing. When it gets that cold, that's no fun. You get a good 20, 25 degree day and it's snowing. That's a fun football day.
Yeah. No, I could see that. So hopefully, I didn't even look at the Cowboys schedule, but I don't think we really have much cold games. Green Bay would be the only one, which I'd like to go to. That's a bucket list stadium that we talked about, one destination stadium that I want to go to. So depending on the schedule and when it falls, hopefully maybe that might be my one road trip to see the Cowboys. But, Jerry was at least in the news a little bit. And, Jerry's a good dude. Steven, I told you, I have my reservations on him. And I don't know if you saw what happened in the Oscars. I never thought I would see. The only time I thought I'd see that is when Stephen Jones, when he comes out as they do their training camp, press conference, and he'll give the same old thing as, we like our guys. We're in the football business 24 hours a day. The salary cap is real. That's when I thought maybe a fan might come up and slap her across the face because they're about sick and tired of hearing it. But that Oscar thing was wild. It was just. It's still obviously being talked about, but it was crazy. Did you? Obviously, you probably didn't see it, but did you see the replays and all that?
Well, it was fun. Well, it's funny because this morning I was listening to another podcast, which I typically do Monday mornings. I was in the zone. It's Monday morning. I got to get ready for work, And as the day went on, a couple times, on whatever Google, I just happened to see Will Smith a few times. Will Smith, and it wasn't until I was driving home that I was talking to my nephew, and he said, "Man, you believe what happened last night in the Oscars?" So I watched and I said, "Damn, he cracked him one."
He
Wow.
did. It was loud, and I mean, he was, and a buddy of mine said that, he said, "There's no way that was real." I'm saying, I'm telling you, go get the uncensored clip. You can get, I think, Australia feed was uncensored. You can hear it, and then you can hear what Will Smith said afterwards. And I don't want to get in too deep in Will Smith, but I think that he was laughing at the joke. If you watched it, he was laughing.
Yes.
And then he looked over at his wife, and he's like, "Oh, I better do something about her. I'm going to be in a bigger doghouse." So
he did damage control.
But that's just, I mean, it's real easy. It's real easy to do to Chris Rock, right? He's 140 pounds. If that was The Rock doing those jokes up there, do you think Will Smith would have been walking up there to slap me? He picked the spot. But it's comedy. It's stand-up. I love going to stand-up. If I'm in the front row, I know I'm going to get cracked on. I know they're going to make fun of me. I know that it's all in good fun. It wasn't really mean-spirited. It was kind of a dumb joke, anyway, the whole G.I. Jane. It wasn't like, so I think it got blown, way out of proportion, overboard. And, you see the way the media and you see the way the Oscars and stuff react to that and accept it and say it's okay. It just makes you wonder, all these bad things that happen in Hollywood, they get overlooked, and you kind of see that they're just quick to, look the other way on things instead of addressing it, because everyone talks about violence and there was no reason for it. But anyway, I got sidetracked talking about Stephen Jones because I think someone ought to do that to him. I'd probably be all right with it, straighten him out. But Jerry did come out and he was talking about Cooper, and he had said that Amari Cooper, they made the decision based, and I touched on that before, based on the allocation versus performance. And when you're paying a guy $22 million for whatever reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether it's the offense holding them back or whatever, whatever the reasons are, we're not in the locker room. We don't really see the interactions and things like that. That's why they felt that it was time to move on, because they weren't getting that return on their investment. Gregory was another one he addressed. He said that he wasn't surprised by anything. He understood it. He had a joke, and I'll screw it up, about he was in El Paso, and then he told Randy Gregory he'll Paso or something like that on the stipulations being taken out of the agreement. So, Jerry does what Jerry does. He's a salesman. He's a marketing guy. He always keeps the Cowboys in the limelight, but he'll make light of situations. So that's really, about it. And then, you talk about the free agency. It's been real quiet, I think, on every front. You guys signed some no-name receiver.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even expect that who he is, because I never even heard of him.
No. But I saw it. We signed two. No, we re-signed, and we signed another guy. I said, who the hell is this?
Yeah. So I think what you're getting to now, all the contracts are kind of out there. So now it's the waiting game. And I think this is what I can't stand a little bit about the Cowboys. It's that waiting game of, all right, Wagner's still there. Matthew's still there. Let's wait it out. Maybe, Wagner went to the Rams. He didn't get a contract. I think he was going to the Ravens. Let's see what happens. It seems like the price tag now is about $11 million. They probably can get him a 1 year, $11 million. If it's me, it's a done deal, because like we talked about, the leadership, the championship experience, the championship leadership, what he can do with the defense, his familiarity with Quinn, the ability to make Parsons kind of move around. You got to, because right now we're so thin at linebacker that you're going to be asking Parsons to do much. We could sure like him to rush the passer a little bit too. So I don't know why you don't do it. You've got the cap space. If it's a 1 year, 2 year deal, I don't know why they pull the trigger. And Matthew's the same thing. He's not getting. There just hasn't been a lot of traction from any team. So I think the Cowboys are doing what the Cowboys do. They're waiting it out. See if the price tag goes down. The draft will be coming up, all that kind of stuff, and then maybe they hope they can sign him at a low market price.
Well, and I think that the 1 year thing would suck, and we talked about this last week with Kelly Canine. But for $11 million, just take him for the damn year. And like you said, he played under Quinn. They know each other. I think they're nuts not to.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't get it.
the Falcons, we have no money, so I can't really talk much about anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like Wagner or anybody else. That's why we're
Yeah.
signing no-name receivers.
No, I mean, yeah, that's what's going to happen. So you have the money. If you do a 1 year, 2 year deal, it doesn't. It's not going to strap you for later down the road. Kind of see what happens, and then you can reevaluate it after a year or two. I would give more than a 1 year deal. I'd probably give a 2 year deal and let it roll. But that's really, for the Cowboys. We all wanted quiet, so that's what we got. Zerline went to the Jets, so being in New York, you're gonna see you're gonna hear all that hoopla. They hated him in Dallas. He missed the extra points. It wasn't the field goals. It was the extra points. He actually, if you really look back, the field goals, when it was crunch time and clutch, he did hit them. But he'd missed some extra points that were just like, God, I think he missed like 6 or 7. That's, I think, what frustrated fans the most. The field goals I think his field goal percentage was right in there with top 10 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. No. Well, in New York, like I said last week, the Jets for about half an hour thought they were getting Tyreek Hill, and then that fell through. So they're back to being bottom dwellers, doing nothing as always. They'll be the last place in the AFC East, as usual.
Well, they got 3 picks, so hopefully they figure it out. But yeah,
I don't see it.
I mean, the other NFL news, it's been really quiet. Lynch talked about Jimmy Garoppolo. It looks like he's probably going to stay on board if they can't get a trade. And I mean, really, where's he to go? You got, Baker Mayfield. I don't think the Falcons, I'll let you touch on it. I don't think the Falcons are going to be looking at a veteran. I think they might draft a guy. So Seattle, where would the fit? San Francisco, I wouldn't think would trade him to Seattle, within the in the division. So I don't know what these two quarterbacks are kind of put in a bad spot.
Well, yeah, and I think it's almost like a bridge burning situation like we did with Matt Ryan. When you're hearing, chirping every day about where am I going to be playing next year, that's a problem. Good buddy of mine who follows the show and who's a 49ers fan kind of brought up the idea the other night. What about Jimmy G in Atlanta? But I just I don't see it happening right now. They got Mariota, and then we're going to draft that dude from Liberty, assuming he's available. I don't know much about college football. I don't even know the guy's name. I know he's a kid from Georgia, and I guess he's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, he can run and he can throw. So, he's that dual threat guy. So I think it would make a lot of sense if he's there when the Falcons pick, kind of start fresh. Jimmy G's, he's not a guy that's going to carry a team. If you brought him to a team, if you brought him to Miami, Miami might be a fit because you got the weapons, you got everything. He's a game manager. He makes good, he makes some Jimmy G decisions sometimes, but for the most part, he wins. His winning percentage is pretty good. So
you guys know that
makes sense. So,
you guys know that, unfortunately, man.
There you go.
He does
Malik
win.
Willis says he's legit. Mikey said he's legit. He'll be like Justin Fields. Well, if he's like Justin Fields, they might be in trouble. He didn't look too good last year in Chicago, but maybe the line could have something to do with it. So we won't. I'm not going to hold a rookie. I'm not going to hold a rookie down. But then the big news that everyone waits for. I don't know how this is going to work out. Is the Lions? They're the team on Hard Knocks. So that's going to be the team featured on Hard Knocks. I don't know what you got to talk about, but I think Hard Knocks has kind of gone downhill. The Dallas one they did last year, it was very, I don't want to say boring. I will say it was boring. There wasn't a lot of good storylines. It wasn't like those earlier ones. I don't like my teams being on this. I think, again, it's more distraction. But I think for the Lions, maybe it's a good thing. They maybe get them out, a little bit more, get them some pub.
Yeah, you'd think so. They covered us, I think, about 5 years ago in Atlanta. And it was okay. You're seeing a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like you said, it's a distraction more than anything. But Detroit, they can use a distraction, right? Imagine living in Detroit.
Well, and they gave him the 2024 draft is going to be in Detroit.
Yeah.
It's like
that's something.
I don't know. I don't know. It's Vegas. Like Vegas is a draft this year. That's a perfect spot. If you're going to do the draft, put it at cities where there's a lot to do. There's things you draw people in. It's entertainment, like they did it, they did it in Philly. It was actually pretty good, so I guess I can't dog it too much. But I would think Orlando, LA,
Right.
New York, you get, these big cities where you can do a lot of other things. I think it makes a lot of sense.
It's KC next year and Detroit the year after. I mean, in KC, I don't think they have much of a nightlife there. A whole lot to do.
No,
Yeah.
no, and they'll probably give it to, well, I don't know, whenever that stadium would be done. I'm sure they'd give it to Buffalo one year. I know they want to move it around to every stadium, and it is a cool experience. When I went to that draft in Philly, I thought it was going to be I thought it would be, not fun. I thought it'd be boring. I was like, because you have 15 minutes a pick and this, that. And who said that? Mo? You shut your face. You talk about my Dallas Cowboys. You understand me? You quit hating. Anyway, talking about the draft is it was such a fun time. All these guys got to hate. Oh, we won 5. Who cares? We're gonna win more.
I like that guy, Mo.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate him tuning in. I appreciate you. Hopefully, you're a subscriber. But the draft itself it was a lot of fun. So if it's in your area, I would say go. It's a pretty good experience for the NFL. So.
Oh, I think you scared him.
You were kidding. I was kidding too.
Oh, I thought maybe you scared him. I thought maybe you scared him into putting the right message through on you.
I know.
You're gonna get him with that amateur wrestling background, baby.
No, but anyway, yeah. So we'll see where the draft ends up. But I do, if anyone's by there or wants to make that list, especially with your kids. I went there with my son. He was a teenager. He had a blast. There was a lot to do. So hopefully it'll get back. Maybe get down to Tampa or somewhere where I can go again because it was a lot of fun. So that's really it on football, man. I don't know if you got any. Have you got any news and notes of anything going on?
No, that's it. There's not really a whole lot going on. So. And if anything does happen big, we will always jump on and do a quick live show at some point. If something happens later in the week, this is obviously the flagship show. Everybody should be here every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, watching us.
Absolutely. And it's going to get going. Once we get to football, I mean, this is probably the quietest time. And I like Mo. Now he's saying we're winning the East. See, I turned him around. That's what I do. That's why I'm the hype man of Cowboys Nation, is because I build you guys up when you're down. I let you know. Come start of the season, you're going to know the hype's coming, and you're going to be like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Now, if it doesn't happen, we'll all cry together like we have the last 26 years plus, but we'll make it happen. So anyway, the NCAA. Did you catch any of that, or do I got to fill you in? Final Four.
No, honestly, and in full fairness, I don't watch much college sports. I know that there was a Cinderella team, St. Peter or something like that.
St. Peter's. Yep.
Yeah, and that's about all I know. And it's Coach K's last season, isn't it?
It's Coach K's last season.
Yeah.
I'll give you the recap. I'm telling you, Jimmy, you're missing out. March Madness, I don't watch a lot of college basketball, but March Madness is the one thing I'll always watch. One, because you get the bracket sheet, so that's always makes it fun. If you like to just do a little bit of gambling, it makes for a good time. But it's one game. And it's one time to where you can get these teams, these Cinderella teams that just get hot. It's not best of 7 where the best team usually wins because you've got all those games. You got one shot, one game to make it happen. So you get like a team like St. Peter's who's is a small college. Their gym looks like a high school gym. They come out of nowhere and they make it to the Elite 8. Or you're talking about, the Miami Hurricanes, who aren't known for basketball. They're not a basketball school. They're the 10 seed. They go in and beat USC. They go take care of Auburn, who was a 3 seed. They get a little break. Iowa State beats, I think it was Wisconsin. Then they beat Iowa State. Now they're in the Elite 8. They go up against, they went up against Kansas. So you had all these powerhouses. Then you get these Cinderella teams. And unfortunately, reality checks in when it got to that. And Miami started hot. They had the lead at halftime, but man, Kansas, they did what they did, and they put it on. They put it on Miami, and you know how those teams are. You know how when good teams, they're going to make that run. It's, can you stop it, and can you overcome that run? And Miami couldn't overcome it. St. Peter's couldn't overcome it. So now you've got a Final Four with North Carolina, Duke, a huge rivalry right in New York, and then you end up with Who was the other one? Villanova and Kansas. So you got three marquee. I mean, you probably could say four marquee college basketball teams. Probably the best teams in there.
Even a novice like me knows the name. I mean, I know they're traditional basketball schools.
Yeah. So it's going to be. Well, I'm going to take Duke for Coach K. It's his last year. Someone just asked, who would you take? I'm going to take Coach K. I'm hoping Duke gets it done. North Carolina, I don't like their football team because I'm a Miami fan, so I root for nothing with North Carolina. So it'll be interesting. We got another one, Kansas and Duke in the championship. I think that's a good pick. I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. Kansas looked for real. So
yeah, I met Coach K once.
Oh, did you really?
I mean, yeah, it was at some event several years ago, and nicest guy in the world. Usually you meet these guys. Hey, how you doing? This guy, I went in with the whole thought that it was going to be a quick, hey, how you doing? He's like, no, wait a minute, let's talk a couple minutes. Just like genuinely was just a good guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it is last year.
Factoid.
You pull for that. I mean, he's been there forever, and I always pull for those kind of guys. I like great coaches. I think he's always been a great coach. So it'll be interesting to see. And so I think it's Saturday, and then the finals is on Monday. So we'll be on live. So maybe we'll do a little peek in and see how the game's going. We'll watch it on the side. I'll turn you into a little bit of a fan. But March Madness, if you're not watching that, I don't know what to say. So the last thing is a couple other things we'll touch on, and I'll let you handle the NBA. I'm a Heat fan, and my Heat's in trouble. So I'm going to look to you because I'm not a huge like I am with the Cowboys. I try and I'm very passionate with it. I know your passion is a lot with basketball. So what's your observation of the NBA? Where do you see this thing shaking out? They got a couple weeks left.
Well, you're talking about the Heat. We had the incident with Butler and Spoelstra last week. Kind of funny watching Haslam break it up, but
I thought he was pull Will Smith.
Right. No, but they've lost 4 in a row. But look, I think they'll be fine. I know that that's not what you want to be doing with a couple weeks left in the season. I think they'll be fine. I mean, Celtics are playing well. Phoenix is out west is killing it. But the Celtics are on a 6-game winning streak.
Well, and that's my big thing. I'm noticing like these teams are some of these teams that I'm not familiar with, like from our days in the '90s. It's like you have all these other teams that are like the Suns, and who thought they'd be any good, and they've been great for a few years now.
Well, what bothers me the most is and I've bitched about this several times over the last month and a half. How many times that my Knicks have blown fourth quarter leads? And first of all, we beat the Heat a few nights ago, so. That was a big win. I know the Heat have been sliding a little bit, but it was still a big win. We've blown so many fourth quarter leads and against some good teams. I can count on 2 hands and a foot how many times we've lost in the fourth quarter with leads or even big leads. And we're, you got the play-ins with the NBA, so teams 7 through 10 get in.
Yeah.
If we would have won even 5 of those games, we'd be in contention right now. If we would have just held on to 5 of those leads. That being said, the Nets right now with Kyrie Irving coming back or, being allowed to play because they changed the rules now in the city where he can play despite the whole vaccine thing and all that. Let's see what happens there with them. I mean, they're probably gonna make it in. I don't see
now is the play in a 1? It's like 1 game winning in. There's no best of.
No, so what it is, your 7th and 8th seeds, they get to lose 2. Seeds 9 and 10, it's 1 and done, which is fair, right? Because remember, back in the day, it used to be the first 8. The play-in thing was the best thing there. Great idea. Yeah.
Well,
so
we got someone who thinks Miami's tanking, so they don't have to play the Nets in the first round.
I don't know about. You know what? Maybe they are. Like I said, with Kyrie Irving back, maybe that's the case. But I mean, Miami's bad. They got three 20-point-a-game scorers on the team. They're a good team. But like I said, the Celtics are going in strong into the playoffs, and I don't know. I guess we'll see. But in my opinion, I mean, Phoenix is just a hell of a team. And maybe we're looking at Phoenix. I think Phoenix is going to take the West.
Yeah.
I don't know about the East. There's a lot of strong teams in the East. I guess we'll see.
Well, what about, let's say, the question that and we're going to have a show dedicated to it. So What about LeBron and the Lakers? I know they're drain. They're circling the drain. They're the
Well,
10th seed now.
right.
Are they a team that you talk about this play-in can kind of sneak their way in and try and make a little noise if they get healthy or get hot or any of that? Or you think they're done?
No, well, so they lost again. So there's 3 teams playing for that final play-in spot in the West. The Lakers, the Pelicans, I think it's the Spurs if I remember correctly. So the Lakers lost to the Pelicans last night. So that was a big loss, right? And I'm not a fan of LeBron's. I don't know, man. I even if they get in, they're gonna lose.
Yeah,
but they're slip. That was a big loss last night. Had they won that game, especially with just what do they got? There's maybe 8 games left in the season.
It'll be winding down.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I get it again with basketballs, with college and with pros. I like the playoffs. There's just too many games during the season. I don't really get it. That's what I always loved about the NFL. It's what I love about college football is every game matters. Every game is so important. When you talk about baseball, you talk about basketball, you talk about hockey. It's just getting the playoffs. Sometimes it don't matter what seed you're. Get in the playoffs and then see what happens.
Well, it's funny, I see a comment from Mikey that the Lakers only have names. He's right about that. I agree. They only have names. They have LeBron, and that's what they got. Another team, the 76ers, Harden, Joel Embiid, they got some game right there. So watch out for Philadelphia.
Well, I don't want anything with Philly I don't like. So I don't want to hear no noise about Filthy doing anything in any sport. So I don't want to hear from none of them. They need to live in misery. I don't care. So, but it'll be interesting to see.
I do see Mo's comment about LeBron getting older. Like Mike Tagg said, we're gonna have a show about LeBron at some point in the near future, and I'm gonna set the record straight about him. Just stay tuned for that.
We're gonna bring on a LeBron debate. So I've got some pro LeBron fans that say he's better than Jordan. He's the GOAT. I say Jordan's the GOAT. Jimmy will we'll let him, he'll reveal what he thinks later. But so we're gonna have that debate, and I think it's an interesting one. I don't want to give too much away, but I'm not a fan of comparing errors. So when football, about anything, it's because it's just different times. But what I do look at is in basketball, it's championships and what you do. And I'll just leave LeBron at what will always come back is he lost to Dallas when he was with Miami. And he was going to win not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. And losing to Dallas, they were a much better team. And I think that's the one thing that's always going to stain that legacy of being the GOAT, because Jordan would never let that happen. He was a killer. He never went to a Game 7. Didn't have to go to Game 7. He just was. He was unbelievable. If you didn't watch the Jordan, the Bulls, documentary, that answers it, because I had even my nephew was big LeBron, because it's all generational, right? The younger kids, they didn't see Jordan. They see LeBron and think he is. But when he watched it, he even went to me. He goes, "Hey, Mike," he goes, "Uncle Mike," he goes, "Jordan was the best, hands down, hands down." So, and that's just my opinion on it.
And speaking of Dallas, we'll switch gears here for a second. The Dallas Stars, right?
Yeah.
So they are fighting for a playoff spot in the Western Conference in the NHL. So for any Cowboys fans who are also Stars fans, I know you guys got some hope there going on.
And we got the Mavericks, don't forget, right?
You got the Mavericks. You do have the Mavericks. Well, that's a foregone, but the Stars are they're inching in, trying to get into the playoffs. But so what are your thoughts? Are you Lightning? Obviously, you live in Tampa Bay. So
I follow it casually.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about hockey. I mean, it's not one of my favorite sports. When I went to the game, it's a lot of fun. This will tell you how much I know about hockey. I went to my first hockey game a few years ago. I never knew how much they change. And I always thought it was amazing. I said, "Man, Gretzky's out there all game." I said, I went ice skating at a rink for 3 seconds. I wanted to die. I said, "How the hell do these guys do it?" I didn't know they changed so much. So that's about how much that I know is in hockey. So I have a lot of learning to do.
And in fairness, so hockey was actually, when ESPN2 started, hockey was their flagship. And ESPN2, if it wasn't for the NHL, they probably wouldn't have lasted, right? So then from ESPN2 came all the other ESPN subsidiaries, and then when they ended up having the 2 work stoppages in such a short period of time, they couldn't get a contract. And in typical ESPN fashion, they only cover what they air, with the leagues they have deals with. So there was quite a while where there really wasn't a whole lot of exposure, either on a national level for national games or on Sports Center and that sort of thing. They might gloss upon it. Oh yeah, hey, the Penguins just won the Stanley Cup. We'll get to that after we talk about LeBron. What? Give me a break.
Yeah.
But talking about hockey, I mean, right now they say the best team in the league
are in Florida.
It is said that the best teams in Colorado. I disagree. Yes, the Panthers, in my opinion, are the best team in hockey. I think my Rangers may have leapfrogged the Lightning, but the Lightning obviously top 3 or 4. I mean, they looked good yesterday, man. That was a good team. Great goaltender. I call him Andre Vasectomy, even though it's really Vasilevsky. He's best goalie in the league for several years now, and that's why you guys have won multiple championships, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, the funny thing I'll tell you with hockey is I listened to a radio show years ago, and this guy Artie Lang, if you know the name, he gambled a lot. So he told the story that him and his buddy, hockey was not known, and they used to put the scores out, that in the paper every day, and the bookie. They didn't know anything about hockey, so they didn't know what day the games were, and they're playing this and that. So they used to call in. They wait in the morning when the morning paper had all the scores. They would call in the games, and they were winning a whole bunch of money. And then the guy figured it out, and they had a meeting at the diner. And the guy told him, because you better give me all my money back, and you never do that, I'm going to kill you. It was just the funniest story. You can YouTube it one time, just look up Artie Lang gambling stories, and you'll probably find it. But that's the way hockey was, to your point. It just wasn't big. It was, it's never been able to, especially in the U.S., it's just never been able to get over the top. But now you're seeing Florida, you're seeing some of these other teams down south. Like I tell you, you go to a Lightning game, it's sold out every game. Yeah. And where the Buccaneers kind of fluctuate with it as how good they are, the Lightning, even when they're not a playoff team, it's always sold out. There's a big hockey following in Florida now, especially a lot of people coming down. So anyway. Well,
and I'll tell you the one thing, the deal they signed with ESPN, ABC, and TNT, or before this season, it's really kind of brought things back out. You're seeing it more on social media, and you're getting more play. When I don't watch much ESPN, I watch regional sports shows, MSG and all that. But to be sitting through a game, and then all of a sudden Sports Center comes on, and they're starting in with the NHL. I'm like, all right, it's good. Roll with this.
Well, that's good football going on. But anyway, that's besides the point. The last thing I wanted to get to, and we just glossed over it, but with Scott Hall and the passing and just his legacy in wrestling.
Scott Hall. Whoa, wait a minute. What? You talking about Scott Hall, huh?
Yeah. What do we got? Now we're talking. I figure I thought we'd take a few minutes to pay our respects. Scott Hall was a legendary wrestler.
Oh yeah.
If any of you guys see my hype videos, you probably can. You put 2 and 2 together. There's a lot of wrestling, spirit in there. There's a lot of that I get and drive from the older days of wrestling. And I think what Jimmy's wearing, the NWO, what they did for wrestling, because I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, if I mess up on the timeline, wrestling was really big in the 80s, and you had the NWA and you had WWF was real big. Then it kind of either I didn't care because I was getting older, it kind of died off and it wasn't as popular. And then when the NWO with Scott Hall, when that happened and Diesel and they changed wrestling, and then obviously you bring in Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and I still think him as the bad guy was probably the best character I've ever seen in wrestling. He portrayed it so well. It was like Rocky III, and it just and you and I, all the matches and all the things that we've been to, we could talk about stories, but I wanted to let you touch on a couple great Scott Hall memories with the NWO and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, first we were there at Bash at the
Yep.
Beach the night that Hogan turned heel. And I remember, in all fairness, our buddy Wayne called that one. He said, what if it's Hogan who's the third guy? And I tell you, first of all, that was really cool. I give credit that he called that one. I never would have guessed it. And that was just a fun night. I remember everybody throwing crap into the ring and all this stuff. But, when he showed up, and it was so real. I remember sitting there watching Nitro on that Monday night, and Scott Hall, I said, wait a minute. It's Razor Ramon just walking through casually. And it was so real. And that angle he played, and the way it was set up and the way he played it on the mic, it felt real, like a real invasion. So much so that after a few weeks, they had to make a disclaimer, on the air saying, Bischoff said, do you work for the WWF? No, we don't. So, I mean, and his, unfortunately, he had some demons behind the scenes. Yeah. And we're not going to harp on that. No. And it kind of hampered him at times, but the man was extremely talented. Behind the scenes, he's the one who came up with the Sting Crow character. Nobody really knows that. Yeah. No. It was his idea for that turn with Sting. And I just think that, he sold so well and just great on the mic.
Oh, he was unbelievable. He was the best. The toothpick and him and Kevin Nash, they played it so well and it looked so real, and slamming Bischoff through there, and that production, that was probably the best. And I know I might be putting it out there with saying it above the 80s, but that 3-year period, or it might even been less than that, but that period was probably the most dominating wrestling, through popularity, storylines. You had, when we were there at the Manatee Civic Center, you had Ted DiBiase coming in, and he was sitting right next,
right
rows
there
from us, just sitting there as a fan, and you had all these guys coming in, and you had chaos at every end, and Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen were being attacked, and it felt real the way they were turning on each other. And then you had, they made fun of Arn Anderson, which ended up, I guess, being a little bit more real than it was. But everything was sold, and it made you. Wrestling today, and I know with the it is nothing like that time, and the way they were on the mic and the way they dropped those promos. It was like nothing, man. He was a genius. And it's really unfortunate. Yeah, he had some demons, and I'd never judge anyone that you battle through stuff. And we all hope that he would have fought through it, but he didn't. But he was just such a talent, and it's unfortunate in wrestling you see a lot of these guys gone too soon. So, as being a huge wrestling fan as I am, and Jimmy, Jimmy and I used to do matches out in the parking lot. We'd have a crowd around, and we'd be throwing each other over cars and stuff like that. So, we were sucked into it too during that time, Well,
and the better, if you guys when we watch the intro of the show, you can see a couple Polaroids of us actually engaging in some wrestling, and that was just the best. He just seemed cool. Him and Kevin Nash were cool, and obviously Hogan, but. The outsiders,
the outsiders. We used to do a lot of prank calls to the radio station. We always use the outsiders. And that was one of our taglines. We have to dig up some of those old calls too. But yeah, I just wanted to, take a minute to talk about it. It's a slow week. So I appreciate all the comments and definitely you guys checking it out. Keep tuning in. If you missed last week's show with Kelly K9 and the Cowboys, make sure you guys check that out. And I'll say to any new people, we had a tremendous interview with Rod Martin, who played with the Raiders in the 80s, and two-time Super Bowl champion. It was a great conversation, a lot of insight. So I wanted to give that another plug. And Jimmy, I'll let you have the floor.
Yeah, and Rod Martin, definitely watch that show. And when you get done, listening to the conversation we had him, you'll get a better idea of what those players dealt with back in the day. And really, honestly, why that man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So definitely check out that show. And, we're talking about wrestling. I'm more of an AEW guy now. I watch Wednesday nights religiously. But like we said, at AT&T next weekend is WWE and WrestleMania and all that. And it's kind of funny because there is some storyline driven. There are some storyline driven matches next week, but you got Logan Paul and The Miz tag teaming against the Mysterios. So you got, Logan Paul obviously is a social
he's
influencer,
popular.
kind of
Yep.
like, our show, Social Influencers,
Yep.
against the Mysterios. And then you have McAfee, Pat McAfee. Wrestling,
Oh God,
right?
yeah.
You're
yeah.
right. Johnny Knoxville is fighting against Sami Zayn. And you just, it's unfortunate. I mean, the big match is Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar, unification match for the titles. But it's just unfortunate it's gotten to the point where they're, with Scott Hall and Nash, it was so realistic, and Hogan and the NWO, and like you said, Four Horsemen, and even the subsets of stories, like your second tier stories, were realistic.
Yeah.
Some of this is just too much driven by non-storylines, right? Gimmicks. I find it to be a little too gimmicky. Now, I think it's genius on Vince McMahon's part. You got Logan Paul in there, man. You're gonna have that generation. You're gonna have so many damn people either buying it or somehow finding a way to watch it online without buying it.
Yeah.
And we don't advocate that. Just saying. But yeah, between that and Johnny Knoxville, you just kind of, you wish it was a little more story driven.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but we'll have more stories about the Cowboys, about the NFL, and we're going to touch more on it. Again, this was a slow week, not a lot to talk about, so we wanted to touch on a few different subjects, kind of tell some stories, just kind of freestyle a little bit. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Again, like, subscribe, share, do all the stuff. Jimmy D on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow him, do some interaction. He's obviously a great friend, and he's funny as hell. So definitely make that happen. So until next week, hopefully we'll get a little bit more drama. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out. Now, can you dig it?